Reports and presentations. Region A Broadband update. Sarah Thompson, Executive Director of the Southwestern Commission. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. Good evening. Commissioner Shields asked that I come and let y'all know what we've been doing about broadband, so that's what I'm here to do. Start by thanking you for your recent investments in broadband. I hope that works out. It's nice to see a county doing something, taking the matter into their own hands. We started working on broadband a few years ago. As you know, we're an economic development agency and a community development agency, and there is not a single topic that we deal with, whether it be workforce training, services for healthcare, older Americans, economic development. There's just not a single thing that we deal with daily that we don't hear about our poor broadband availability and quality. So we took it on. We've historically been an agency that deals with critical infrastructure, and broadband is certainly the critical infrastructure of this era. We did phase one. We serve the 7 western counties, so we're doing this regionally. We did a phase one planning in 2017 that included demand aggregation surveys to find out the areas of the 7-county region that were underserved or unserved. We encouraged the formation of county-based broadband committees so that each county had a local committee working on it. You all, of course, at that time already had one, but they didn't all, and so now each of the 7 counties do have a broadband committee. And part of that first phase was also some training for the folks working on broadband in the region. A couple years went by. We've applied for more funding to continue our regional study, and we are now in phase 2. And this involves mapping of the vertical assets in the region, basically your poles. The reason why we decided to focus on vertical assets, wireless propagation, is because with the current technology, given our landscape, given the funding availability, wireless is the solution that has been the most effective in rural areas. Is it the only solution? Absolutely not, but it's a good one for rural areas because you don't have to have fiber going to each location you're trying to serve, which we'll probably never have in the mountains because we don't have enough people to make that ever work financially. So the vertical asset inventory will map every tower in the region. It'll say who owns it, the GPS coordinates, the frequencies available on it, and the opportunities for co-locating. So as there's not every tower doesn't have just one company serving on it. There are often many.
Some of them have no company.
I knew you were going to bring that up. So the idea behind the 2 studies is to not only figure out where we have the greatest need and some population density to achieve a return on investment for the company, but also to do all the legwork for them as far as where they could place their equipment. Throughout this process, we're engaging every provider, private internet service provider that is doing business in the 7-county area. I have a list of them if you want it. And we will, our data that we are collecting through these studies is open and free to anyone, to any provider that wants it. We will have identified the assets, collected all the information they have on them. We're working with the communities. We know who wants it and needs it, who's already serving there. We even did speed tests through the survey to see what speeds you're actually getting versus what you're paying for. So really just trying to do a lot of the legwork to then incent the providers to come in. That still leaves the question of funding it. How are they going to fund it when it's often much more expensive in the mountains? And you also have less customers in rural areas. So the grants have been slow to come. But they are trickling through. As you know, the state has a grant that is funded again in the budget negotiations that we're going through right now. We helped 2 wireless companies in Region A apply for and receive those grants last year. That's a service we're willing to offer any provider that wants it. They've taken us up on it. We help them write the grant, and we're administering the grant for them. Because that's a barrier. These are small entrepreneurial wireless providers. They've never written a grant in their life. They don't want to be grant writers, but we can do that for them. They added 1,000 new customers with those grants. Is that solving the problem in Region A? No, but is it progress? In my mind, it is. And there were a couple other grants from the state program that were funded in the Region 1 here in Macon County with Morris Broadband. And then Frontier was awarded one in Clay County that they are not going to use. So in total, we had 4. We'll keep working. The budget has it for Tier 2 counties next year, too. It was just for Tier 1, and then the tier system changed, and we all moved up to Tier 2. And we got worried we wouldn't be available or eligible for those grants, but we will be. Another example of grant funding that we can assist with, it's been a problem that counties through North Carolina state law cannot build the infrastructure, which also means we can't apply for our traditional infrastructure grant funding through the Appalachian Regional Commission. They fund water and sewer extensions all the time, and they fund broadband in other states, but in North Carolina they can't fund it because we're not eligible to apply for it because of the law. So Swain County did a workaround on that and had their Chamber of Commerce apply for it. We're going to administer that grant for Swain County, and the private provider will pay the match. So there are ways that some counties are getting that federal money by using someone like the Chamber or a nonprofit. Graham County used the Great Organization. So, of course, Representative Corbin is the co-sponsor of the Fiber NC Act, which would change that law and allow counties more flexibility in building and owning fiber, which you could pay for yourself and or apply for grants to help fund that. And that would take a lot of that workarounds with nonprofits out of that equation. Another angle that we're taking on this is, you're not going to get anybody to grant you money if you say we need better broadband to watch Netflix, right? You have to have a public reason, a public good to get a grant. So the State Department of DIT Technology and the Department of Health and Human Services are doing a telehealth study. Telehealth is becoming a real way to solve some of our rural healthcare needs. If you can have a consult over a screen over the internet with a psychiatrist that practices in a city with a patient in a rural area, you're cutting down on some time that person might be in jail rather than receiving treatment. And so that we are looking for ways to make the argument for this that are not just quality of life and economic development, that are also public health. Of course, the education piece with the kids getting sent home with laptops and not having internet at home to do their homework. There's a lot of different ways, and we are chasing every rabbit that we can find as far as making an argument for this and working with state and federal partners who are making that argument too. We are having a summit on Friday, October 25th at Southwestern Community College, where we will be talking about all of this stuff, but for much longer than I'm going to talk to you tonight. And it won't be me talking, it will be experts in the field. And we've invited every provider. There will be a question and answer panel with the providers who choose to attend. There will be some funding models presented that have been successful in other areas. It should be a really interesting day. If anybody would like to attend, Commissioner Shields has already registered. but that on regiona.org, you can sign up for that. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Just to follow up, Mr. Chairman, the Southwest Commission and all of us that's in the leadership position there, of course, we're all in lockstep about broadband. We know that. And sir, they work hard. But it's really going to have to take a change of attitude in Raleigh. We can have these small providers and the county can try to help some of these, and we hope it does help. But until they keep passing laws to make it tougher, just because our zip code, we should have the same opportunity for broadband regardless. And that's the argument we have to make.
Yeah.
And we've not made that argument. Of course, they're giving as much money out as they are. You can understand, they got more lobbyists. They have to, put a white tag on each other, keep from lobbying each other.
Well, I will say in the past few years, it has really become a very elevated conversation as far as it's a necessity, not
a luxury.
A luxury. So, and that's why we're looking at it from angles such as public health and education, and not just quality of life.
On your mapping of the vertical assets,
yes.
Do we have access to that? Or
Yeah, when it's done.
When it's done.
Anybody can have it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of that already. I mean, Mr.
I guess.
Dave, I think here, I think we have a lot of
Well,
that.
and I hope that you've heard, or your staff has heard from our consultants, because counties that have already done a lot of work, we're not going to recreate it. We're going to take what you already have and compile it.
Sarah, thank you. I'm changing the subject on you. I heard you mention that there might be some funding available for some sewer line extensions.
Yeah, always. Just let us know.
Mr. Manager and I were talking about one today, so.
Yeah, whenever
Sure, I
it's
can follow
attached
up on
to
that.
some sort of business expansion or job creation, there's definitely federal money available that we can assist with.
Here you go, Dee.
Thank you for the job you do.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Have a
Sarah.
nice
Thank you,
evening.
Sarah.
Yeah.
All right, the volume